Rolling.
Hello friends. Let's prep this canvas. Use a little bit of liquid white. Ooh, pre-mixed. Ooh, it's so liquidy. It's coming out of this jar lid onto my hands. Mmm. Yes. Prepping canvases is so much fun. If you can't have fun prepping your canvas, what are you even doing? And like, why even do art if you're not gonna have fun? Am I right? All right. Also, expect to make a mess. That's, I guess, law. With the old painteroonies here. I really try to keep my paint mess contained the best I can. We don't want to make, especially if you're a guest somewhere filming, you want to be very conscientious of what your paint's doing. Because if I was going crazy here, I'd be spraying white paint all over this studio. But I'm just taking this 2-inch brush and I'm just trying to quickly move the liquid white evenly across this pre-stretched canvas. I'm using 18 by 24 pre-stretched canvas, already primed. And now I'm just throwing on one nice thin layer of liquid white on top. I'm just working out the brush strokes here. It looks like you can always check to see the sheen. Make sure you have even coverage there. I missed that whole corner there, so that's why we always check. And we're gonna keep on going to the rest of this painting. Today we're working with a limited palette. I wanted to make something a little bit more approachable for people who are just starting out painting. I'll just go around the palette here. I have a titanium white, sap green, phthalo blue, just a little bit, because we're just gonna, a little bit in the sky, and then I have midnight black. All right, let's get started. I have a 1-inch brush here, and let's just do a little bit of sky. So I'm just going in just a little tiny dusting of phthalo blue here, because I just want a little bit of sky up in here. And I'm just gonna kind of, since it's kind of a misty morning, I don't want it too blue. It's not a blue sky, but clearly it's sky. We're coming through winter here, and well, winter just pretty much just began. It's the new year. It's very exciting. We've had cool mornings. We've had some sunshine recently. That's been kind of nice. All right, I think that's all I'm gonna do with that sky there. All right. I might bring that color down a little bit. A lot of this is gonna be carved up with trees and mist anyway, but I just wanna bring down that kind of brightness with that blue in the sky there. It's the beginning of the year. We just came out of the holidays. Did everyone have a nice holiday season? Does anybody still use real trees? We went to the patch this year. Oh, I'm gonna grab my palette knife here. I'm gonna mix up a little background color here. Yeah, did anyone go buy their own Christmas tree this year? It's pretty fun to go out and look at the trees, go visit, say hi. We went this year. It was super fun. Did you know one of the most common Christmas trees is the Douglas Fir, which is Oregon's state tree. All right, let's see. Kind of want like a transmuted, nice, off in the distance, kind of background color here. Don't need a whole lot of green. It's trees. I like the tree line. This one a little darker, kind of more grayscale. And we always want to start the lightest color furthest back. and then get darker as you move into the foreground. It's just an artist's tip. So it naturally brings the eye in the darker things are in the foreground. Okay, let's see how we did there. Set my palette knife down. Okay, so we're just gonna start, just make a little tree line. Just kind of pepper in. Just make some trees. This is a good one to practice your evergreen tree shapes. Looks like I need to practice a little bit myself. So this is going to be a good exercise for me to paint some of these. And this is just going to be off in the distance, and so we don't need a whole lot of detail. We don't need highlights, kind of nothing like that. We're just gonna make just kind of like a tree line here in the background, and doesn't need to be too detailed. But like I said, I'm just kind of practicing making these tree shapes in the background here before we get up to the foreground. We'll have some good practice going. All right. Maybe I'll just kind of get more of the tree line shape I'm wanting to accomplish here. Did you know Doug Fir can grow up to 330 feet and they can live up to 1,000 years? That's incredible for a tree, especially when we harvest it so quickly. It's a fast-growing tree, and its lumber it's high value, especially in the state of Oregon. Everybody loves the Doug Fir. And Doug firs, so they're Douglas Fir or Segusa menziesii. I think I butchered that pronunciation, but it's okay. We're gonna be fine. Which that Greek name translates to false hemlock, because the Douglas fir is kind of like its own type of evergreen, coniferous type evergreen. Evergreen meaning it's dark green, soft needles. They're always flat, are always present on the tree. Otherwise, they'd be a deciduous tree, which would be, your leafy trees, your maples, your oaks. The evergreen trees, they have evergreen leafy trees as well. I don't know. Anyway. We're just gonna put some more trees in here. Trees forever. This is the tree exercise. And my favorite thing about Douglas firs are their cones. They're so cute. You can definitely tell they're very distinct. They have the little scales on them, and then it looks like it's like the 3-point bract that comes out the bottom, and it kind of looks like a little mouse went up there between the scales. And I just think that's so cute that they'll kind of have that. Right, I'm just getting in the last couple of trees in here into the skyline, as you do. All right, now I'm gonna leave that there. I'm just gonna take a clean, soft brush, dropping things, and I'm just gonna kind of mist this up. I'll set this down because I don't need to hold on. I'm going to hold on to the canvas a second. Just soften that bottom there. Because we're trying to get a nice kind of misty look on these trees. And we're just going to softly bring a lot of that color down. And we don't need a lot of definition with these trees, because it is more, this is the furthest point from the perspective. And so we were really just looking for kind of like tree shapes And we're just practicing our tree shape, which I'm glad I did. It's all good in the hood. And Douglas firs, they're a sun-loving tree. You usually find them most present in places that are like wide open or like recently disturbed. So think like wildfire or like high winds. But they really just need like a clearing. So now I'm going to bring up some of this lighter color up to really bring the illusion of mist in the tree line here. And since the foreground is going to be a lot darker, I'm just going to bring a lot of that color down anyway, since I'm going to need it later on anyway. So it's like little tradesies here. And it's really hard to bring up the light colors, like the more like layers you put on. So I really want to make this background look really misty, really, I'm gonna take some more time to really create the illusion here. All right, this is looking like I want to just go ahead and move on. Okay, great. I'm just gonna knock off the extra paint that's on the tips there. I'm not gonna bother quite cleaning that one because it's not that dirty. Now, okay, so we got our background going. That's great. Actually, you know, kind of want to tap that out a little bit more. Okay, great. Since it's misty, we'll bring some of that gray color up as well. Just bring it more of the illusion of it being not such a nice blue sky. More of a cloudy day. Alright, here we go. We love it. Yay! Great. Okay, moving on. Tap the brush out again. Grab my trusty palette knife. I'm going to go ahead and just add more dark color to this one since I won't be really going back too much. Okay, let's see. Let's grab some more sap green here and some midnight black. And we'll just go ahead and mix that in. Alright, this is kind of like more of a mid-tone here, so want that there. Let's grab our fan brush here and really work on loading it up. Oh, probably a little too much there, but that's okay. Okay. So we're creating kind of like an illusion of a hillside here. Speaking of wildfires, did you know only you can prevent wildfires? When you go out camping, are you fire conscious? Are you sure you're making your campfire go completely out? Making it totally wet and giving it a stir? Also, what I love about Douglas fir is that they have a great symbiotic relationship with several varieties of mushrooms. Some of the most famous mushrooms would be, well, the Oregon State mushroom, since the Douglas Fir is the Oregon State tree. The Oregon State mushroom is the golden western chanterelle. And they like each other. So if you see Doug Fir, you know, you might see some chanterelles, which is always so exciting. It's kind of like a little pot of gold in the forest. When you see them, I get so excited. Oh, well, that one a little rogue, that's okay. We're just gonna make this one a little bit taller. Nobody cares, see? When you don't get the proportions right, you just kind of move on. This is your forest. You can do trees, they do what they want. And that's pretty much true anyway. Trees, they'll persist. They'll keep growing. I think last night I saw a video of a tree growing through a stop sign. So, you know, they're resilient. But, you know, we don't also need to like actively set the forest on fire too. So there's that too. We can do better. Like I believe in us as a species. We don't have to just like actively be burning the forest on fire. You know, make it set on fire naturally. Anyway, you know, it's all part of the process. It's not all fire is bad. You know, controlled fire for forest management, of course. Really, it's important ecologically. It's good cleansing for the forest, if you will. Oh, painting trees. Don't we love painting trees? We are just getting in there. Oh, so other awesome mushrooms would be the matsutake, which are a highly prized mushroom. Matsutake in Japanese means pine mushroom. And they're often associated with pines. Usually where I see them on my hikes are always associated with the pine mushroom, but you know, I guess they also grow with the Douglas Fir. They're usually, you know, pretty commonly grown together. The king bolete, you know, porcini, if you will. That one's pretty fun. Have you ever seen a king bolete in person? They're huge sometimes, but sometimes they're about this big, and they're a little spongy. The boletes are cool. I like the boletes. They have the spongy underneath the cap. It's all kind of spongy, and like the bottom, they have the long tube pores versus like something like an Amanita, like me, have gills. And it just depends on how that mushroom disperses its spores. It's kind of cool, like how like the gills specifically are like lined up. And like each type of mushroom, they have found like the most efficient way of dispersing those spores based on like location. And so that's kind of interesting. Like, you know, kind of mushrooms are a little bit higher. You know, they have kind of like the gills or whatever. It's just so like the wind can take it away. But then there's like the cordyceps that the zombie ants are susceptible to, and those are cool if you haven't heard about zombie ants. They essentially like work out the ant to be able to climb up higher on the leaves of the trees in the forest, and then when the ant dies, it has a death grip on the underside of the leaves of these like specific plants, and so when the ant dies and the mushroom blooms out of the ant, while the spores are being dispersed, it's at like the exact height for like wind dispersal, and so the ant will, you know, the mushroom will infect more of the colony, and it continues on. You know, nature's pretty cool like that. All right, well, I have these little tree line here. I'm just gonna set the brush down there. I'm not gonna knock off the excess, and then I'm gonna bring up some of that light color and just kind of do the same thing. But since these trees are a little bit closer I'm not gonna make them quite so misty. Let's set this down. Look at that big palette. It's kind of heavy. I'm gonna bring down that edge there and just kind of blend it in more. Just gonna bring it up and down. And just really kind of bring these two colors together. Really make it nice and misty. So every time I think Misty, I think of like when I worked at Dairy Queen. We had the Mr. Misty machine. And I had no idea how much sugar went into like food. And I was kind of mortified. And I like making the Misty mix really changed my view on like the beverages we consume. And so I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, Misty. For your health. Try not to drink your sugar. Alright, I think that's mistied enough. And throw some clouds in there. The light's probably coming from there, so that makes sense, right? Okay, great. I'm just gonna bring that color down because I'm gonna need it on the bottom anyway. Okay, well, let's grab my palette again. We're gonna put some more trees in the foreground here. Let's grab my palette knife one more time. And these are gonna be quite dark. So I'm gonna grab quite a bit more sap green and midnight black. And then these, yeah, I'll probably still put more green. That black kind of takes over. I want it quite dark and neutral. It's kind of in right now. I mean, yes and no. It feels like color, people are wanting color more. I feel like the 2010s, everything was very muted, very gray, very sterile. I'm happy to see people are more accepting of color in their lives, but you know. All right, got a nice color there. I just did the midnight black sap green and I just added it to that color that we've already been building upon. It's nice when you're building a palette to just kind of build off the same colors, otherwise you're kind of reinventing the wheel. I just grabbed my blending brush, that's okay. I can just put this in the bottom down here for now, but we'll just do that. All right, I need my fan brush. Okay, let's load up this fan brush with this new darker color. All right, let's get some big pumpkin trees going. How does that sound? Sounds good to me too. All right. So Douglas firs are kind of like self-pruning. As they grow up, the lower branches break off. So I think that's kind of cool. That also makes it possible with they need a lot of sunlight to grow, so that makes sense that they would be self-pruning to ensure the continuation of the species as they drop cones. Lots of things eat the cones, little birds and critters, squirrels, mice. I'm just putting a lot of color in here. I might put some black in here too, because I just want like a lot of color down here. It's all in the foreground. I might do actually some black trees on top to kind of end it, but let's see. Let's get some more trees going. Let's see this. Try to paint trees as fast as I can. Have you guys ever seen a lobster mushroom? Those are pretty cool. Speaking of like kind of like a zombie mushrooms, or like I was talking about with the ants. Lobsters, they parasitize another mushroom, the short-footed Russula, or Russula breviipes, and they're both edible mushrooms. It goes from like a white mushroom with white gills to a bright orange mushroom. But I guess kind of smells like fish, I suppose. Sure. I mean, I've made like lobster bisque before with lobster mushroom. It was good, I would say. I quite enjoyed making a lobster bisque with lobster mushrooms. You know, I really love cooking with mushrooms as like a meat alternative anyway. I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm pretty like veggie leaning, I would say. And if there's like a mushroom option, like obviously I would rather have the mushroom option than like a meat option. And it's kind of funny, like structurally speaking, humans and mushrooms are more alike than not. And that's how, like really, like why mushrooms have their own kind of like kingdom. They're not plants. They are fungi. So they're kind of more like protein based. Well, and they lack chlorophyll. So they're not, I mean, they're not plants anyway. Chlorophyll is what plants use during photosynthesis to do energy exchange with sunlight. Actually, mushrooms, that's a symbiotic relationship that mushrooms have with trees like Douglas Fir. Like for example, the king bolete, when it is underneath underneath the soil, like attached to the tree root, the mycelium exchanges the sugar and it offers protection and helps the tree absorb water better. And then basically like when the trees like start to go into like winter, that's what like initiates kind of like the mushrooms fruiting, because the mushrooms fruiting is an indicator of the end of the life cycle. And so when people ask like, oh, when I'm picking the mushroom, am I killing the mushroom? It's like, well, no, you're not. It was over anyway. Like that's the end of it. So it's cool. That's why they're in the fall. You know, it's kind of the end of the season. All right, I'm gonna just put in a couple more trees here in the foreground, and then I'm gonna call this a day. I really enjoyed you guys hanging out with me today, talking about mushrooms and trees and Doug Fir and Oregon. If you guys haven't been out yet, I hope you come out, take a visit. Always remember to try your mushrooms. Don't be afraid to, well, out, like at a restaurant from like a dealer, but like, know what you're eating, but you know what I mean. Be adventurous, try something new. Maybe it's painting. Maybe it's playing a new instrument, trying a new hobby. Really, whatever you want to do. The world's your oyster. All right, well, I'm Amandanita Muscaria, and it was awesome painting with you today. Much love.